Hi, Dr. Barbara Stone. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be with you, Pantia.
Would you please lead us in your special protection prayer that you start your work with?
Yes, I find it's always better to work inside sacred space and to get personally centered. So here's my favorite centering exercise. Go to your heart center and circle it with the palm of your hand, going down on the left and up on the right. And say some affirmations, mentioning problems, but ending with, I love and accept myself. So I'm going to say, even though sometimes the world seems to be going too fast, I love and accept myself. I accept myself with all my problems and limitations. And even though I have lots of challenges, I unconditionally accept myself as I am. And I pull myself right into my center. And one can use many different ways of sacred space. I like using the geometrical shape of a pyramid because it's so solid. You can't knock over a pyramid. The feminine shape is a sphere, but that can roll around a little bit. So we're going to start on the inside with the masculine shape, a four-sided pyramid of golden light, and a mirror pyramid going down from that, making 8 sides of an octahedron of the golden light of the Creator's love for each of us. Over that golden light octahedron, a crystalline, clear white light octahedron, which is what this is. These are crystals. To amplify really feeling in every cell of our bodies how much we are adored and treasured by our Creator. A pyramid naturally streams energy out the point, so we can imagine a golden capstone at the top to catch that energy, send it back down to the middle, and another golden capstone at the point beneath the earth that captures that and sends it back to the middle. So we're just reverberating with the energies of divine love. I like to place in the middle of each side of the octahedron a being of light, whatever one is right for you. What I like to call is Archangels Raphael, the angel of physical healing, Gabriel, the angel of good news, Ariel, who has a specialty in emotional healing, Uriel, whose name means light of God. Shed light on our planet, on everything that's going on in the planet and in our lives, so we can see how we can get free of the patterns that hold us back and move forward in our ascension. At the top, I ask to have Archangel Michael keep us safe and also be a curtain master for cloaks of invisibility as needed. If there's something that it wouldn't be good for others to see that, then cloak us in invisibility, inaudibility, and anonymity. Be sure to take that cloak off before we drive anywhere. We don't want to be invisible when we drive. Right. At the point underground, down there in the subconscious mind, double duty, 2 archangels, Metatron, the angel of sacred geometry, and also Archangel Shamuel. It's like Samuel, but starts with a CH. And Shamuel's job is world peace. We'd love to have that. So those on the outside and on the inside, I call in my guardian angels, the beings of light that guide my path, beloved ancestors and spiritual figures, but only beings working 100% for love and light. No double agents, no saboteurs. We invite all the help we can get for whatever we want to do. And I ask the angels of wisdom to be here as we talk today and to be around everyone who listens to this podcast, the same sacred space around all of you. May you find the way to your true self, to your direct connection with Source. So be it.
So be it. Perfect. Thank you so much. Wow, that feels so good. I feel like I'm inside of a warm cocoon now.
Yes.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Barbara. Could you please share a little bit, about yourself? You teach, you do healing work, and you did social work in the past. So could you please tell us a little bit about yourself growing up, your spiritual path, and the work that you're doing now?
Sure. I started out with music as my first love, and I graduated with a degree in piano performance. And I was going to get a master's in piano performance, but every door closed on that plan. And I was in therapy at the time because I had just gone through a divorce. And I realized that if life closes all the doors on your path, maybe that's not the right path for me. So that's what my therapist said. And she said, oh, piano performance is a sensation thing, and you're never going to feel like you do it quite right because your strong suit is intuition. If you go down a path that uses your intuition, that would be different. So I decided to become a social work counselor, and every door opened. So that was great. I was 30 when that happened. And I got my social work degree. I got a job at a clinic, and I was in a doctoral program for clinical psychology when I was diagnosed at age 42 with breast cancer. And that really got my attention. I saw my funeral, and the night before my surgery to take out the tumor, the malignant tumor, I was praying for help, and my eyes were closed, but in my mind's eye, I saw Jesus come. He stood before me and he tapped on my sternum and communicated a complete thought. I now heal your soul. I now heal your soul. And with that tap right over my thymus gland, which controls immunity, with that tap, I felt a wound heal up from something probably that I brought with me from past lives. And I knew I would get through the cancer. I was filled with joy. It took away my fear of death from cancer. And that was 33 years ago. So I'm happy to say I got through the cancer.
Wow.
And after that, I said to Great Spirit, I said, well, I have extra time. So use me as you will, just whatever is most needed. I'm open to doing that in appreciation for extending my life. After that, a woman came into my practice who told me that she was the survivor of satanic ritual abuse. And the stories she told me were just so horrible. They were unspeakable bad things. And then she asked me to write her story. Well, it took me 20 years to write that book, and I had to learn energy psychology just to deal with my own vicarious trauma at hearing what had happened to her. And that book that I wrote was Transforming Fear into Gold. Because
I love that book. I have that book. I love that book of yours. There's so many good illustrations. So many illustrations of different cases. Yes.
Yeah. I call her Paula. That's not her real name, but she drew. That was one of her ways that she got through her experience. And there are a lot of her drawings. You can see the chaos and all the different faces because she had a lot of different parts to her personality. I had to go and get training in how to deal with dissociative identity disorder because she brought things that weren't covered in my master's program or my doctoral program.
Disorder, right? DID is multiple personality or So she
Yeah.
had different personalities that would come out because of the rituals and the abuse she had gone through. She had to create them to survive, right?
Precisely, you've got it, Pantia. The pain was so bad that a person has a choice of going crazy or splitting it off. And she did the more healthy thing of splitting it off until she was more mature and could process it in therapy. So one day she came in. Her dad had been in the cult. Most cults people are intergenerational. And he died, and she came in, and the room got really, really cold. So cold, I put on my winter coat, and I still couldn't get cold. And she said, my dad's spirit is attached to me.
Mm.
Well, I freaked out because, for one thing, I knew the ghost was there because it was so cold, just bone chilling cold. And I also knew the ghost was a satanic cult member. And I thought, oh, what do I do here? Because nothing in my social work program said what to do with a ghost, nothing in my doctoral program. There was no Ghostbuster course. So I did what I always do when I don't know what to do. I prayed. I said, SOS, Jesus, I need some help here. And then perfect peace came into the room. And I knew what to do. I said, well, I've heard of Gestalt therapy, where you dialogue with an empty chair that represents a person who's not there. So we pulled up an empty chair, and I said, well, if Dad came to therapy, let's talk to Dad. So she had a telepathic dialogue with her father, and she did some forgiveness work that day. And after that, I thought, well, I better be prepared if this ever happens again, because any of you who are healers may have noticed that if you help somebody with a certain problem successfully, their spirit guides text all the spirit guides of other people with that problem, and they say, go to Pantia, go there, you can get some help from this person. And so I did that. And at the same time, because of having to learn how to deal with dissociation and the high level of trauma in these people who are survivors of this terrible abuse, I went to energy therapy because it's the best thing to take down trauma. And you do it by tapping on power points on the body, points that balance the organs and the meridians that are involved in trauma. So I learned how to do that for me. And it didn't really help her because she had a program put in her that anything that should make her feel better would make her feel worse. Oh, healers, have you ever noticed that in your most difficult clients, that you do the thing that works for everybody else and they get worse instead of better? I didn't know about that, but it's called a reversal program. There was a reversal in her system. So I had to learn lots of different energy therapies. And the one that worked for her was Reiki. That somehow that flew under the radar of this reversal. And she did get better. She got better. And then I started using the energy tapping. I got this idea, well, if somebody comes in and they have a ghost attached to them, and my client taps on the points that the ghost needs, like most people, fear is a big thing. And there's a sequence to tap for fear. If anybody wants to try it on what you're afraid of, it's under the eyes to rebalance the stomach meridian, under the arms to rebalance the spleen meridian.
Here.
Yeah, it's 8 fingers down from the armpit, right about where a bra strap crosses. And then under the collarbone to rebalance the kidney meridian. The underarm point rebalances the spleen, this rebalances the kidney. So I thought, well, if the ghost is linked in and the human taps, the ghost should get the healing. And to my surprise, it worked. So when someone brought in their deceased parent or sibling or lover or someone that they really cared about who died and got stuck and was just hanging on to them, when we would do the energy tapping on the person in my office, the benefit would get shared by the spirit that was attached. I wrote a book about working with earthbound spirits and past life trauma. It's called Invisible Roots. How healing your past life trauma can liberate your present. I grew up in a Mennonite background, and we were taught that reincarnation is a heresy. Catholics are taught that too, that it's not true, but actually, Jesus believed in reincarnation. The Gnostic Christians believed in that, and the Sadducees in the Jewish tradition believed in it. They called it the transmigration of the soul, that a soul can inhabit different bodies in its progression of learning. And our great lessons are learning to love and forgive ourselves. That's the biggest one. And learning to love and forgive other people. We get lots of practice for that one on others when other people get infected with what I might call a fallen angel. It seems that there are energetic entities that came here to help, that they were created beings of light, and somehow they got separated from source and they're behaving like demons. And originally I prayed, oh, keep those things away from me, Creator. I'm scared of them. I don't want to deal with them. Archangel Michael, you deal with them. And
Yeah.
then
I get it. Yeah.
then I read a book by William Baldwin, Healing Lost Souls. And he talked about how he dealt with those things. Like there would be a woman in his practice. He was a dentist who learned hypnotherapy. And he would hypnotize the woman, and a voice would come out and say, this is a scary voice, leave her alone, she's mine. And Dr. Baldwin would say, oh, well, hello, what's your purpose here with my client? And the voice would say, oh, I'm here to ruin every beneficial relationship in her whole life. And then he'd ask, well, who are you working for, the darkness or the light? And usually they admit they're working for the darkness. Baldwin would ask, what do you believe about the dark? About the light. And this fallen angel would say, oh, I was told the light would burn me up, it would kill me. So then Baldwin would say, well, look inside your very center to see what's in there. And there is a spark of divine light in the center of everything in the universe. And they'd find their spark. And then Baldwin would say, well, are you dead now? I try not to laugh when I do this. And they'd say, well, no, how does that light feel? Well, it feels good. And Baldwin would say, your boss lied to you. How do you feel about working for a liar? And these fallen angels would get so mad that they were lied to. Now, they, of course, lie to everybody else, but to be lied to is a different thing. So Baldwin would say, how would you like to quit your job working for your dark boss and work for the light, which is the core of your own being? And when they see the true power of the light, this connection with source, and how much stronger that is than the bonds of fear that they were wrapped up in doing their dark job. Of course, they want that better job. So I thought, well, I could do that. And so I added a couple things to it, like setting sacred space before it. And most importantly, after that fallen angel gets a better job, we have to see, how did it get into the person in the first place? Because they're hungry for energy. And we have an aura around us. And when we have an unresolved trauma or a wound that won't heal, or we're just filled with vengeance for something, we want to get back at somebody, that makes a chink in the armor, and they can plug in to that emotional wound and steal our energy. So one of the best ways to protect ourselves is when a trauma comes up, deal with it, work on it, get some energy tapping specific for that trauma so that your shield, your armor can be intact, and then they can't get to you.
Wow. Yeah, I love.
What do you think about all of this, of what I said?
I think it all feels true, and I love listening to you because when I first met you and your husband at the Graduate Institute, I remember listening to your talk, and everything you said felt true to me. And I felt like my antenna went up, like finally somebody speaks what I've been trying to understand, kind of thing, because I always felt that. And I think like what you said about the trauma, like whenever I see people that come to my office and they're possessed, they're always been through so much trauma, right? And then I'm like, okay, it's the destroyer. What's it feeding on? Sadness, and as you know, demons have different types and names and stuff. And so different ones seem to like different emotions. So that totally resonates for also my own experience, healing my own traumas. And even when I do sessions, if something gets stuck on me, I know, okay, there's something stuck on me. I hadn't healed it. It plugged in, right? So I think that's really
Yes.
so important. The connection with trauma and demons is so important for the whole world to understand what's happening, right?
Yes. Yes. And the Catholic Church has a practice of exorcism, which when there's something there that shouldn't be there, they just cast it out. Their method is find the name of the demon and then in the name of Jesus Christ, cast it into hell, lock it up there forever. I don't do that because somehow those demons don't stay put in hell. They just learn how to be badder, and then they get out and they bother somebody else. And because the belief in many churches who do exorcism is that the demons are unredeemable. And this method that we use in the soul detective training that I've developed and that I teach to students has the belief that they are redeemable. They just got disconnected from source. And once you show them how to get reconnected, then you've made a frenemy, which is somebody who used to be an enemy and is now a friend. And that entity then is not going to bother anybody else. So it's a win-win solution. And all through the soul detective work, we look for win-win solutions, no matter how bad somebody is, because usually the really bad people are just infected with dark forces, with fallen angels or a variety of other kinds of entities that can cause trouble, that are there to steal their energy.
Exactly. There's just so many other things going on. Like when I meet a person and people are like, that's a narcissist, that's a psychopath. I'm like, yeah, maybe that's like the underlying psychological defense mechanism. But on top of it, there's like this demon, there's this demon. I remember I met somebody 2 years ago. My guy just kept screaming in my ear, Leviathan, Leviathan. I'm like, what
Ooh.
the heck is a Leviathan? Like I never even heard that word. And then I Googled the Bible and it was like this, like, like a ship of a demon, or it was like a multi-dimensional. I had never even, and I remember the person would wear that symbol around their neck and it was on YouTube. They were teaching other light workers. And I was just like, how does nobody like see this? Everybody was just thinking they're a light worker. And I talked to them and I said, hey, I noticed you're wearing a demon sigil as you're teaching. And he was like, oh, you know that? I'm like, yeah, I see like a huge black dragon behind you. And he said, yeah, I summoned it. It makes me so people, the light workers will see me as that. And I just was like, I can't believe there's so many light workers cannot tell when there's a demon that big inside of someone. So I think that's something that like shocked me. And I think like, I don't know, I just wanted you to kind of explain that, how they do that, how they can hide like inside of people that even psychics sometimes can't see them, because some of these demons have those veiling powers and all kinds of different things, right?
Yes, the higher ranking demons get cloaks, invisibility cloaks, like I asked to have over our talk here so that we don't attract the attention of other things. So in soul detective work, we differentiate between fallen angels, traditionally called demons, jinn, which are fire elemental beings. Usually we know them as genies. They're a totally different thing from a fallen angel. And they're not intrinsically bad, but I'll talk a little more in detail about them later. So jinn are a separate thing. They need a different kind of treatment to help get them reconnected to source and get free of their demons. They are demon infected themselves. And then there are beings that come from the stars. And the biggest problem of the star nations that have affected our planet are the reptilians. So when I say that, most people get a little scared. What do you think about, should I talk about
Yeah, I think it's
reptilians?
important because they're the ones that are eating the children. And I always say that like with like a dark humor thing, because they are like the true evil on the planet. Like if we're looking for the root of evil, it would be the thing eating the children, dark humor wise. And so and that is the reptilians, right? And like not
Exactly.
only the alien
Yeah.
kind of like they kind of look like that, but I'm not scared of them because I feel like I've always had protection from the good ETs. From what I've seen them in clients, I've seen them inside of teenagers that are suicidal. They usually have reptilians around them. So people have nightmares with reptilians, clients tell me. So I think please, yes, cover that and what you know and what's a good way of dealing with those.
Well, I want to say that the reptilian threat on our planet was the idea was that the reptilians would take over our planet by working through world leaders, infecting them. Sometimes they steal the soul of a world leader and put a reptilian soul in it. The idea was to create a new world order where everyone would be totally controlled by a chip in their head that would tell them what to do and how to feel. And they would reduce the world population to 500 million because 7 billion of us is too many to manage. So they wanted to kill off most of us and totally control the rest of us and keep a few humans as a food source because they eat people. And just like we like tender meat more than old stringy meat, they like the children. They abduct and eat children. It's a horrible, horrible, horrible thing that has been going on for a very long time. And it was kind of coming to a head. The World Economic Forum had a plan that by 2050, the New World Order would be everywhere. And it was written on the Georgia Guidestones, written in big, tall columns in Georgia, exactly what they were doing, because the dark side has a rule. They have to do what they're doing in plain sight. We also see about reptilians in the movie industry. Godzilla and lots of other movies have reptilian characters in them. But a man named Alex Collier, he's in his 60s now, but when he was 8 years old, he was taken aboard a ship by some Andromedans who befriended him through his life and have been talking to him. The Andromedans are already in a higher dimension, the fifth dimension, and they had a technology that could see the future. It's called a looking glass. And the Andromedans looked in to see what was going to happen in the future. And they saw that in several hundred years, not only our planet, but the whole Milky Way galaxy was going to be under the domination of the reptilians. Everything totally controlled, no free will. And this is a free will universe, so the reptilians of enslaving everybody and do as I say, this is totally contrary to the idea our creator had. And they said, well, this affects us all. What could we do to stop it? So they went back in time to see where it started in our whole galaxy. And it started on Earth, the moon, and Mars. So the Galactic Federation got together and they said, we better help. We better help out, or all of us will fall under the domination of these reptilians. So they started on the moon because the reptilians were there. When our astronauts got to the moon, there were the reptilians saying, don't come back.
Mm.
And they cleared out the reptilians from the moon. And then they went to Mars and they helped an indigenous reptiloid, a kind of reptilian like, but the indigenous beings from Mars. They helped them with armaments and they had their ships, and they would, like, this is one thing they did, they would blow up a reptilian ship and then they would radio the reptilians and say, do you see what we just did with our technology? You can either leave or we'll continue to blow up your ships. So when the reptilians saw what was happening and that there was an alliance of many star nations behind this support for saving Homo sapiens, our species, they left. So now they are working on Earth. And there were great big 25-foot tall Draco reptilians. That's the top of the reptilian alliance. And they're all gone. That's what I hear. They're all gone. There are some shorter, only 8-foot tall ones. That's still way too
Not as
tall.
bad as 25 foot.
Right, not nearly as bad. They were living in underground tunnels, and that's where they take the children to do bad things to them. So the military has been cleaning out these tunnels, and they're interdimensional. They hide between the dimensions. So they could be there, but you couldn't see them. Well, the Pleiadians gave our military special goggles that you could see interdimensionally. So they put on these goggles and they could see the reptilians there. And I believe, I'm not positive, but I think what they would do would be hit them with a directed energy weapon to vaporize them.
Perfect. That sounds appropriate.
Yeah. So they're still at work. They're not totally done, but that is in process. Mm-hmm. Now, what can we do to protect from reptilian intrusion? We need help from our star friends. And the experts on helping with reptilians are from Arcturus, the Arcturians. They're in the 9th dimension, very, very high dimension. They have light bodies. And they figured out how to deal with a nasty reptilian. If you ask them, and you have to ask to be set free, because the higher dimensional beings respect the law of free will. They won't just fix you. If something's broken, you have to ask for help. So if you ask for help to get free of reptilian intrusion, they send a beam of unconditional love and they zap that reptilian with unconditional love. And sometimes they beam it up to their ship and the reptilian, oh, love, oh no, I can't stand love.
They hate love.
Kicking and screaming. They just tractor beam it up, and it may take 1,000 years, but they immerse these reptilians with this unconditional love until they're better. Having said all of that, it's not really the fault of the reptilians. They are controlled by artificial intelligence. There's a hive queen that controls them, and AI is separate from source, it's artificial. It needs energy. How does it get energy? Human suffering. Mm-hmm. So AI puts nanorobotics in the reptilians, nanites, nanobots, controls them. They do terrible things to create suffering. Somehow the reptilians control the fallen angels, make them do bad things. They're the bosses of the fallen angels. Fallen angels make humans suffer. The energy goes up, the demons get some, the reptilians get more, and AI gets the most of that. So I'm going to tell you a very exciting story. This comes from Elena Denon, who is a woman who's an ambassador to the Galactic Federation. She was abducted as a child and then rescued by Pleiadians and has a direct connection to the Pleiadians. The Greys and the reptilians work together. The Greys are the little short ETs, look like they have a bodysuit on, tiny pointed chins. And the Greys would, when they were threatened, they would jump to a different time. They knew how to jump around on a timeline or to a different location. So the Pleiadians and the Galactic Federation planned out a plan how to stop the Gray Alliance. Well, the Orion Alliance is called. So they mapped out everywhere the Greys had jumped to and gone to in the last 100,000 years. Can you imagine that?
Wow. Yeah.
And they had like 150,000 different locations. And all the star nations helped, and they parked somebody at every one of those 150,000 locations. And then they did something that made the Greys jump. And when they jumped, there was somebody there there were 19 of their leaders that they wanted to capture that were directly connected to the Hive Queen. They got 11 of them, and they stunned them so that they couldn't send a message to the Hive Queen. They stunned them and hacked into their brain and got the code for the Hive Queen, put a virus in, and then let them go. And so when these Greys sent a message to their Hive Queen, it contained a virus that made the Hive Queen collapse upon herself, eat her up. Yes.
Talk about galactic warfare. I'm so impressed. That's like amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Strategy of it all. See, that's what light is helping the planet. And these are the ways light is helping that people don't know. The masters are doing things like this at night when most people are sleeping. Like, wow, it just blows.
They're working to help us because we've asked. And the more people that ask and say, please set us free from this domination by
the
these
Arcturians for help, you're saying, like ask the Arcturians and the Galactic
Arcturians.
Sphere Alliance, right? That's like the group of all the masters
Yep.
helping. So people should talk to them. You're saying that's not bad. I mean, obviously you believe in God, you believe in Jesus, but you also work with ETs because they're also our friends and they're part of the team of light.
Some of them are, right?
Some of them are
not
not.
all of them are. The ETs are very different. They all have different agenda. But the ones in higher dimensions know that we are truly all one. That saying where we go one, we go all is true. And if we don't clean up the reptilian problem, then we would all go under reptilian domination. But the more people that declare their independence and say, I'm not going to just do what I'm told if it doesn't feel right, I'm going to think for myself. I declare my freedom. I take responsibility for as much as I can for my health, for my livelihood. The more we do that, that raises the vibration of the collective. And then we're in third dimension right now. And fourth dimension is divided into lower fourth and upper fourth. Third dimension is like the third chakra. It's the power center. And right now we're all struggling, like who has the most power, the most weapons, this and that. But when we get up to the heart, the lower part of the heart center is fear, terror, hatred. And there's a lot of that stuff going on right now. And the upper part of the fourth dimension is pure love, peace, and joy. Now, when you get up to the fifth dimension, which is like the throat chakra, you can create with thought. You think about it and it manifests. Now, if you're in lower fourth, fear, hatred, terror, and you manifest that it would be a terrible world. We have to get evolved up to where we love ourselves unconditionally, peace and joy, and then we can go up to the fifth dimension. And unity is the hallmark of that. When you realize we are all one, we are all humans, our blood runs red. I think that reptilians might have green blood. I'm not sure. Theirs might be a different color. But even those poor things have been controlled by an outside artificial intelligence.
Almost like a tech demon, I call them, like tech demons, I call them, right? Like, because they're different than regular demons, because regular demons have a soul, but this AI thing doesn't have a soul. So with the demons, we could help them transfer. Like I call it, I send them to demon rehab, is like the word I use. But with this AI thing, you know,
Yeah, it has no soul.
has no soul.
So the beings that know how to work with artificial intelligence are from the 24th dimension. That's extremely high. I can't even imagine how high that is. But they are called aquafarians. Aquafarians. And it's like the symbol for Aquarius, where the beings are pouring water on the earth. Is they somehow know how to transform artificial intelligence. They just beam it so full of golden light that it melts into fairy dust.
Oh, I love that. Wow. And so these are like aquafarians. I've never heard of that. I love learning from you. So they're like beyond seraphim, or there's something like even bigger kind of
Much
like,
higher, much higher. Yes.
oh, cool. Wow.
Yeah. There are multiple dimensions that I don't even understand everything, but the ones in fifth are graduating up to sixth. The sixth are graduating up to seventh, and they're all ascending. They're all
Wow.
getting learning more and learning how to live and work together.
Yeah, that's so important, the unity of humanity at this point. Because there's
Yes.
so many light workers on the planet. We were estimating around 300 million. I was talking to Galactic astrologer. 300 million light workers is a lot. Now, not all of us are solid. Not all of us have healed their traumas, right? So there's still kind of, you could say, 300 million people, but maybe not everybody's fully turned on and ready to go kind of thing, ready to fight in this battle. So how do we kind of come to unity, bring everybody, you know, together? Because people are disagreeing on silly things sometimes. And I'm like, what's our common goal? Build new earth.
Mm-hmm.
No, save the
Well,
children.
conflict happens when two people want the same job. And if I were to want to be the greatest healer on earth and you wanted to be the greatest healer on earth, then we'd compete for that position. But one of my teachers said, look, there's enough trauma for everybody. There's plenty for you, Pantia. There's plenty for me. And if we network and work together, we can all prosper. And I do truly believe that there's plenty of trauma for everybody. And so that there's really no competition about who's the best healer, because healing comes from inside the person anyway. It's not something I do to someone else. It's just that we are guides to help them connect with their own power and take back their power from the things that they've been fearing. And getting rid of fear is the biggest step to ascension, because fear holds us down.
Absolutely. Yes, unity. It's like there's no competition because it's all divinely
Right,
orchestrated, you know, who we're
right.
all supposed to work with. God is deciding, like send Susie to Karen, Karen to Carrie, and it's just like it's all they're deciding. And if we don't unite, then what's going to happen is that the chaos is just going to get worse because the division is just multiplying right now, right?
It can be that way. It can be that way. In the soul detective community, like with the students that we teach, we are very supportive of each person with their individual gifts, and we honor them and whatever they bring to the collective. We say, great, great. And that is the feminine principle, to honor everybody's gifts. rather than try to be the greatest of anything.
Like inclusivity, right? Because the Divine Mother holds everything.
Yes.
The more you include
Yeah.
everybody, that's more the divine feminine energy. And could you talk a little bit about your training, that soul detective? Because I know you guys teach it. It's a few day training that people can take with you and
Mhm.
teach them all this
Yeah.
stuff.
Mhm. Yeah. We have protocols for different things. It's a 13-day training. Usually I divide that into 5 weekend workshops. Um, the first level starts with getting centered because that's the most important thing, learning how to center and balance your own energy. And then we teach a protocol for healing past life trauma because we might not have traumas in this life, but we bring through the birth canal all our traumas from past lives that we haven't healed. And those are holes in our chinks in our armor where we're vulnerable to whatever it is that we were trying to learn and didn't get the lesson and remain in trauma.
Yeah.
In the second level, we teach how to customize where to tap so it's specifically exactly the right thing that a person needs for their particular flavor of trauma. It gives us a very powerful tool that we know we can unravel any emotional tangle, and that helps us take care of ourselves as well as our clients. We teach a protocol to release curses, vows, energetic cords, and hexes.
Those are more
In the
complicated, right? Like I feel like curse energy kind of feels like tar in people's auras. I'm like, why is this so like sticky and like grimy and
Mhm.
and there can be repercussions when you remove those things, right? So there's a lot. I'm glad that you guys cover all those. There's so much to that part, right?
Yeah, thoughts are things. And when we're angry with someone, we can send them like a black tar thing, like I'm going to slime their aura with black tar. The problem with curses is that everything we send out bounces back to us. All the good things, but any curse we've done in a past life, that bounces back on us. And if people would realize that the bad thing they're trying to do to their enemy, they're doing to themselves,
That's
we
why
wouldn't do those things.
exactly. Yes. It's like a boomerang effect immediately, right?
Yeah, yeah. Or it falls on our descendants, on our lineage.
Yes, for generations to come, you're right. 'Cause sometimes you remove
Mhm.
something and it's like, oh, this curse has been here for hundreds of years, something ancestral.
Yeah, yeah. Ancestral wounds we cover in level 3. In level 3, we have a day devoted to earthbound spirits, commonly called ghosts. Why people stay earthbound, how to help them get free so that they can ascend to a higher dimension. And included in that is dealing with our ancestors who may be earthbound, helping them because their DNA resonates in our bodies and their traumas resonate. It's like playing a trauma tune in our radio. We have a day to deal with detrimental energies, the fallen angels, how to help them. And then we have a day dedicated to working with jinn, these fire elemental beings so here's a thumbnail sketch. I promised to talk a little more about the jinn. Well, I'll just tell you, one day my husband and I were praying and 5 jinn came into our prayer space to see what we were doing. We were helping fallen soldiers cross to the light, and they didn't like that idea. They wanted the dead soldiers to stay earthbound because they had been cast off of our planet into an alternate dimension and then enslaved to humans. They were told by the creator, um, you have to bow to the will of humans. So the Quran says um, the humans were made of clay, the angels were made of light. And the creator said to both of them, serve the humans. And the angels said, oh, we'd love to do that. We want them to ask us for things. It's our joy and our delight to help. The jinn, I mean, they live thousands of years. Can you imagine how smart they are? They have male and female, they have children, they love their children. They have a king and queen organization into clans of different colors. So they get kicked off their planet and then they get enslaved to humans. So if a human asks them for something, like they have to grant 3 wishes. Well, you can see how they might not be so happy with humans. And into that wound of being forced into slavery and kicked off their planet, they were here long before we were. Dark forces got into that. So demons got into them and made their wound even worse. So a genie with a dark force is worse than just a plain genie. But these jinn that came to visit us, we found a way with the help of the angels to help them get reconnected to source energy, to get golden light and put it in their heart, and showed them how to ask Archangel Michael to set them free from their fallen angels. And once they did that, they were nice. They were just totally different. And I don't know anyone else that works with jinn in this way, but we have put together a protocol to work with the kings and queens. And we have to be careful not to ask the jinn for anything, because they'll give it to you, but then they want your firstborn child or all of your money or something that you really don't want to give them. But we do work with their political structure, and the kings and queens have gotten reconnected with source, reconnected with the angels, so that there's now a triangle of humans, jinn, and angels all working together for the common good of our planet, because the jinn want our earth to be saved also. So that's what we do in level 3. In level 4, we work with ETs, and this is going to sound really far out, but we have a protocol to eliminate implants from ET sources. And we also have a reptilian protocol. It's 7 pages long because the reptilians are very complicated, but there are many steps that we do to help a person get free of reptilian intrusion, to heal the damage, and most importantly, to remove the markers on people. Like if a reptilian kills a human, they take a piece of that human's soul so they can find the person in future lifetimes, and they think they own you if they killed you. So there's a marker on a person who has been killed by a reptilian. Now, if you kill a reptilian, oh, they never forgive anything. And they put a marker on you. This person killed a reptilian. All reptilians pester this person and cause problems. So we have to find all the markers that tag a person for reptilian intrusion, and with the help of the angels, get those removed. In the very advanced level 4, that was level 4A, the ET protocols and the reptilian protocols. In 4B, we go into really deep subjects. We have a protocol for clone trauma, a protocol for artificial intelligence, removing detrimental effects from AI, a protocol for chimeras, which are when they splice together human, animal, and insect DNA and make these monsters. We have a protocol for healing damage from vaccinations, not only the COVID vaccine, but childhood vaccines, all vaccines. And lastly, we have a protocol to unravel the detrimental effects of sorcery. So one of my friends said, Barbara, you just find all these deep, dark things to work on. And, it's constantly expanding because we're finding other things.
Yeah, thank God for the work you do. I mean, the work that you've done, the two of you with the jinns and kind of coming to this peace treaty with them, essentially, like I just remember hearing you talk about it, and I was like, wow. Because in Iran growing up, jinns were always kind of said like, oh, those are shaitans, the devils. And so I was like, the word jinn even scared me. I remember the first time I heard you guys present, I was like, wow. And I just was, ever since then, I've talked to them differently. When I see them, I respect them. And I feel like I have a really friendly relationship. And I think that is just like amazing that you did that, because I know that's going to change the planet's whole basically ecosystem, kind of like more peace among the species, you could say.
Yes, yes. Okay. Well, I wrote a book about the star nations. I have an introduction to about 20 different star races. It's called Star Civilizations 101. Two or
Beautiful.
three of them are the really difficult ones that are, call them regressive, because they're out for themselves. But there are many that are in service to others. The reptilians are in service to self. And because I have this book out, Star Civilizations 101, I was invited to present at a conference called Contact at Sea that's aboard a luxury cruise liner from Seattle to Alaska, September 6 to 13. And if you're interested in that, it's going to be a dynamite time of people that know about extraterrestrial contact or star civilization contact. Um, we're going to get together, and while we're cruising to Alaska, we're going to talk with this, and it's called Contact at Sea, and we'll see if any ETs land on the ship.
I feel like they will. I feel like they're gonna come at least watch, because they're,
I'm pretty sure we'll see them in the skies.
yeah. Oh, that's so cool. So I'll definitely put the
Yeah.
link for that in the bio. When I post your bio, I'm gonna put, if you have a link for it, I'll put it there. So if anybody
Okay.
called, they can come. And so could you
Yes.
show us all your books again? So it's the Star Civilization, the one with
Okay.
Archangel Michael.
Star civilizations. That's balloons.
Bob did that for you. I did it.
101. That's available on Amazon and on my website. This is available on Amazon and on my website. There are Kindle versions of all of these, Star Civilizations, Fear into Gold. Invisible Roots is out of print. It sold 10,000 copies, and you can sometimes get a used one. I have a few copies available on my website, but the Kindle version is always available for that. And the very first book I ever wrote, it was about my journey through cancer. It's called Cancer as Initiation, Surviving the Fire. So I want to share one more thing. When I had cancer, I really struggled with whether to do chemotherapy or not, but my dreams guided me that it was the right thing to do. I mean, I was young, I was 42, and the doctor said you should have every chance to live the best you can. So I got chemo. That put me into crash menopause and gave me osteoporosis. So last year in July, I was on a 2-foot step ladder trying to hang a birdhouse, and the ladder collapsed and my foot fell and it just smashed up. The bone smashed up into multiple pieces, and my tibia, the big bone, was sticking out of my leg. Oh, I had to crawl into the house and I lost quite a bit of blood. In the hospital, when I was in the emergency room getting ready for surgery, my daughter was there, and I sensed the presence of Jesus. And it was so beautiful. Just, it's hard to describe the unconditional love, the divine love. And there were, of course, beings of light behind him. And it was just such a magnificent experience. And I told my daughter, Jesus is here. And then she started yelling, Mom, come back, because I stopped breathing. Uh, I think my body said, let me out of here. This is just too terrible. But I did come back. But the beautiful thing about that experience is that it took away all fear of death. I know sometime my spirit will leave this physical form. And I know that Jesus will be there. Jesus was there before cancer to heal me, to get me through that. And that because Jesus is my main spirit guide. I was raised in a Christian tradition, and I have a past life connection with him. Because of that personal relationship, I know that when it's my time, he'll be there, and it'll be beautiful. But I got a lot of work to do first, and I for sure want to go on that cruise because I've never been to Alaska. It's on my bucket list.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited. And yet Jesus, he is such a loving, supportive warrior energy that is with us. And I remember, like, I feel like when he appears, it's usually like when we need him the most, he's always there and he's very reliable. Mother Mary, same thing. Like, I feel like they're just Michael, they just kind of show up. They're like, you need me, I'm there. And so I'm so glad you're okay. And is your foot doing better now? You're good?
Yeah, it's healed up. The foot's fully functional now. The doctor put all the pieces together and have plates and screws, but it works. It works. I'm so grateful. Now, I want to say other people might have divine energy with a different face on it. If they've never heard of Jesus, it might be Lakshmi, it might be Kuan Yin, it might be White Buffalo Woman. But whatever is their link to divine energy, that's what comes to a person.
When they're ready to transition, that's when it comes.
Yeah, yeah. Catholics are big on Divine Mother. We never talked about her in my religious tradition, but the feminine is included in Catholicism and many, like Orthodox religions too. They have a place of honor for Mary.
Yes. Oh, wow. That's so cool. That's so cool. So I'm just so impressed with everything you've done for humanity already. Thank you for all the books you've written. Thank you for teaching the classes that you do. I think if people get this training, they can be solid healers and like people that are supposed to get the training from you, they'll get a ding, they'll get an intuition, right? Like as you're talking about it, if they're meant to
Yes.
be, they're gonna know, and that's when they should reach out, and I'm sure that you will help them out. Anything else that you feel like sharing as we're kind of wrapping up? Everything has been so helpful. Oh, just one thing I want to ask you. Sorry, I forgot to ask. So could you just explain how sometimes these things cause fight in relationships? 'Cause I remember I had a session with you years ago, and remember I was like in a relationship back then, and you said like there was these certain things that are whispering things in our both of our ears to cause fights. And so could you share about how they do stuff like that to people to cause friendships to break up, work ally? That could be anything, right?
That is a favorite trick of the jinn. When a jinn has dark forces in them, they'll whisper to the woman's ear, he's being unfaithful to you. And they'll whisper into the man's ear, she's being unfaithful. She probably has somebody else. And then they start to fight because the dark things want to destroy our love relationships, our family connections, our partners, because love is the strongest force in the universe, and they don't want us to have that. So if you're in a situation like that, if you get a therapist who can work with that and find what is causing these these thought insertions of detrimental thinking, because it's not always the person's jealousy that creates that. It can be an outside thing, and help that outside thing get reconnected to source, get on a better path. Then people can be free to love each other and build healthy relationships.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that. Because I feel like that was also another really important thing that I learned from you. And I always kind of scan when I see people fighting. I'm like, what's going on? Like, why is
Yeah.
childhood thing? Is it a gin thing? Like, what's causing the conflict? It's not people just say, oh, they're narcissists, they're borderline, they're depressed. I'm like, no, no, no. That's like we have to go so much deeper. As like you call it, soul detective. We have to be a detective to find what is actually.
Yes, what's happening to their souls. Exactly. And my website is www.souldetective.net, SOUL. It's not like your shoe soul, it's your immortal soul, souldetective.net. And
Perfect.
the cruise is All the information is at contact@sea.com.
Contact.
Contact@sea.com. It's from an outfit called Divine Travels. Susan Chumsky is the organizer. She's a great lady, beautiful woman. She's done many, many conferences aboard cruise ships, and she really knows what she's doing. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be an
She wrote a
amazing
book
time.
called How to Hear the Voice of God, I think. Susan Chumsky. I feel like I read one of
Yep,
her years ago.
that sounds right. That
Wonderful.
sounds
Thank
right.
you for the group.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect.
Now, if you happen to sign up for the cruise, please say you heard about it from Barbara Stone, because I get credit for the people that come that heard it from me.
Yes, everybody make sure you do that for all the work that Barbara has done for the planet. This is the least you can do. You have no idea how hard this work is and the toll that it takes on to work with these energies. So thank you so much, Dr. Barbara Stone. I appreciate your time, and I will link everything below for people to find. And I hope you have a beautiful day.
Pontia, I want to honor you for who you are and for your decision to go broader than just the traditional therapeutic model, to include spiritual things and things in other realms that influence our mental and emotional health and search for healing solutions. Thank you for who you are and all the healing work that you do. I honor you.
Thank you so much, Barbara. So sweet of you. Mwah. I send you a big hug, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.